Hello, hello. Welcome to another session here at the Mauticom. Welcome, Miko.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and welcome all participants and viewers. And I'm saying participants because you're gonna have to ask some questions at the end. So make this interactive for us. Proudly introducing to you Mikko Hamalainen, who is the CEO of Druid. And this topic is very special for him because this is also his master thesis, as I understood. So he really went deep into this topic. And it starts as well, it includes also the word dummies. So I'm especially happy to listen to this because I know that it will cover everything what we have to know. So without further ado, go ahead.
Excellent. Hey, nice to be here. Actually, the topic like the dummy in this presentation topic is actually referring to me because I started my master's thesis. I'm upgrading from bachelor's to master's about a year ago, and I started totally from scratch with this topic. So I was the dummy I was gathering the information for, and I noticed that there wasn't that much information available about DXP systems on a beginner level. So I wanted to put together a presentation that actually addresses the topic. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Hopefully it works. You should be seeing something now. So if you don't, just let me know. Cool. Okay, so about myself, I've been working with basically CMS systems or software development for the past 20 years. Actually, exactly 20 years because I graduated in 2004. Part of my job, I mean, I have background in software engineering, but part of my current job is to actually go around with to customers or to conferences and lecture about things that I feel important. And this is the part of my job that I actually love because it's always interesting and nice to be able to bring new knowledge to people who can benefit from it. You can be in touch with me using my email or my Drupal.org or like Twitter or whatever it's called nowadays. Also, if you want to get the slides, you can grab a picture of this QR code. If you don't manage to do that, it's available in the recording as well. So let's get down to the subject. So why is this relevant? Why are these type of marketing systems or DXP systems relevant? It's because the amount of e-commerce is going to grow drastically. In 2027, it's going to be 41% of the global retail sales. It means that these kind of systems, like the need for being able to personalize your content and deliver right information at the right time, it's not just for big corporations anymore, but because this will affect the brick and mortar stores as well. They need to be able to go more digital, and the competition is global, obviously. So it means that they also need to start investing in these type of like systems. And the thing is, by the way, since this is my master's thesis topic, I wanted to do this as academically as possible. So I always have the references to the sources at the end, at the lower part of the slide. So you feel free to check and go through the references and see if you agree with me or not. So yeah. So anyways, there's also like a lot of things tied to this thing, like the change in the landscape. There's a lot of numbers coming up, so please bear with me. But basically, since we're talking about digital experience platforms, essentially it's about digital experience, and people are picky nowadays about it. It's not just like optional part of the e-commerce or providing digital services. I mean, 80% of the customers say that the customer experience is as important as the products and services themselves. it means that basically if you get your stuff cheap enough, yeah, you probably are going to buy it from the crappiest store available. You just go through all the like tricks and traps in the web shop to just get the product at the cheap price. But anyways, for the most of the customers who don't value it that much, they actually prefer to go to the shops that understand who they are and give them a really great digital experience. And during the pandemic, this is also like that was a positive thing. But during the pandemic, I mean, 53% of customers actually stopped buying from a certain vendor or a certain brand as a result of the bad communication they got. It might have been delayed or it might have been like not relevant or something. But anyway, these things actually affect the numbers. Regarding the customer experience, there's like a lot of opportunity there because only 14% of the customers expect to be wowed by the company, like giving this really magnificent customer experience. And only 14% demand or expect personalization. On the other hand, there's a 55% group of people who actually want the companies they care about, the brands that you care about, they want them to know more about them. And 63% of the customers expect the brands to consider their personal values when communicating. So basically, I mean, probably if you're buying groceries or something and you always buy vegan stuff or vegetarian stuff, probably like wouldn't appreciate if they just gave you a recipe book as a gift, digital recipe book as a gift that's full of meat recipes. So basically, the values are important, and they are even more important the younger the people are. Basically, us old people, we are not that value driven compared to the new generations, and that's something that you need to keep in mind. And regarding the personal data, I mean, gathering personal data is inherently bad, right? And everyone hates these cookie banners and whatnot. But actually, 77% of the people are willing to exchange the personal data as long as they get something out of it. So there's a cookies being offered and there's cookies being eaten. So actually, this is like it's okay to gather the personal information as long as you do it tactfully. Because I mean, in general, 53% of the consumers, they really don't trust the companies. It means that like companies are getting their data. They don't understand how the personal data they gather are being used. 55% of the people trust the brands to keep their personal data secure and use it responsibly, meaning that there's 49, like almost half of the people, like the customers, they think that you are going to abuse their personal data or store it in a really bad way. And there's like this rather old US study, there's like a massive amount of people or consumers that felt the lack of control, felt that there's a lot of risk that outweigh the benefits, and there's like companies are inherently evil, and they were afraid to give their personal data to it. But there's actually like it's rather like interesting fact that the customers, according to the studies, academic studies, the customers respond better to personalization when they know how the data was being collected. Meaning that if you go as a consumer, if you suddenly receive an email that has like personal information, it's personalized to you, it has your name, it has your information about you, like you might be interested in these products and whatnot. If you don't know the sender, if you have no idea where they got their data from, if you haven't been asked a consent for that data, you're not going to respond well to that kind of marketing. It's been proven. So it means that whenever a consumer receives personalization and they don't know where the data has been collected from, it won't give the marketer better results. And this is why all these like annoying, stupid cookie banners are really important, because they always, well, even though they distract the flow, they actually are important from the marketing perspective as well. You know, once you give the consent, whether you actually realize that you clicked it or not, but basically you after clicking that, you know that you have been giving the option of declining, and whenever you get sent this personalized messaging, you know you will respond better to that kind of marketing after just accepting the terms and conditions. Everything changed. I mean, things are changing a lot nowadays. This change, I think, started in 2016. Before 2016 at the GDPR, everyone was happy just handing out cookies to everyone who got them, and there wasn't really anything like legally tied to that. Abuse in marketing, third-party cookies, and so on. But after the GDPR came into effect, you can't really rely on the third-party data as much as you used to do so in like before GDPR. Nowadays, it's really more important to rely on the first-party data. So you need to start gathering and storing customer data, advertisement data, marketing data, because in the future you might be able to rely less and less to any third-party data. There has been some studies about even the social media being less and less effective nowadays. So you need to have your channels in order to be able to market effectively in the future as well. So how do we do that? What are the things that prevent us from doing this? So, I mean, nowadays, on average, consumers use 8 channels when interacting with a company. It might be like, you might check their social media, you might go to their website, you go to e-commerce site, maybe you go to a support portal checking out some materials about the products you're willing to buy. There's a whole lot of like, whenever you buy something that's actually meaningful, you start gathering a lot of information, and these are the channels, like you most probably will gather some of that information at least from the provider itself. Of course, there are like third-party channels, forums, and whatnot, where you ask for reviews and like check out what other people have thought about these things. But like in general, like the interaction happens using 8 channels. And you might even want to pop up to a brick and mortar store to see the physical product at some point. So there's a lot of channels involved, even more so if you're a business user, because in that case, the number of channels is even higher. And these channels, typically companies build them iteratively. So you start with, you put together a new store, you put together a website that's consumers coming in. Actually, this is pretty much how the development of the internet, from my perspective, happened. In the beginning, there was a bunch of websites, then there were some e-commerce sites, emails, and so on. So when companies start building their digital presence, they start having one channel after another. First, you might have a website, then you start doing some email marketing. In the back office, you install a CRM system to support that. At some point, you add an e-commerce site to be able to sell your products online. You need to have a product information management system at the point. Intranet or extranet, just for maybe people who have bought the product, they want to have like some maintenance contracts or whatever, and then you need to have an ERP system and so on. So in the end, this is like going to get like really complicated, whether you like it or not. And if you've never, during the course of developing this behemoth, given it any thought how these things should be integrated into each other, who manages them, are they going to exchange information and whatnot, it's going to be a whole lot of mess. And when you start adding like AI powered chatbots and SMS messaging and whatnot, so there's going to be a lot of channels, there's going to be a lot of silos of different people managing these channels. They don't necessarily talk to each other, and there's no single source of truth for the customer information. I mean, as a small company, we're a Druid. We specialize in Drupal development. We're some 30 something big. We have we haven't given this too much thought. So we ended up having our website, druid.fi. We used MailChimp for sending the, nowadays we, by the way, we use Mautic, so we're now one of the good guys. But anyways, so we had MailChimp for our email sending. Then we have a live chat. That these are like customer facing channels, and on the back end we have Pipedrive for the CRM. We have ERP, we have ticket, like support ticket machine and so on. So there wasn't any single place where we would have a whole picture of the customer. This is like the silos are bad. Those are the things that prevent you from going forward with your great big plans. So we've come a long way from just the marketing peoples being just like digital marketing people being simple webmasters. Website is not a business card anymore. You need to be able to understand totally like different kinds of systems. What are the implications, how the users or the consumers react to them, how you keep them legal and so on. So there's a lot of things that you need to take into account. It's not just it's about like marketing, digital marketing. Now it's a bunch of technology that you need to keep track of. There's a lot of things going on. And for larger corporations, this is really, they have the time, they have the resources, they have the manpower. But where the biggest growth is going to happen is in the mid-sized companies because they have the limited resources. So now let's go to the DXP, which is shorthand for Digital Experience Platform. It's basically an integrated system, a platform that basically allows you to have a single coherent customer picture and deliver messages to the customer that are really relevant to them. Meaning that you can arrange these multi-experience customer journeys where someone starts interacting with your company using a mobile phone. They might switch to a laptop later, maybe do a WhatsApp message now and then, and so on. And you your system, the DXP, should understand that these are the same people, same person that is interacting with the company, and this is what's relevant to them. By the way, this quotation is from Gartner's legendary Magic Quadrant for Digital Experience Platforms. Everyone quotes this, so I also had to. But what it does, essentially, it collects, it aggregates, it summarizes data coming from different channels in order to create one golden record of the customer and what they are doing, what they want from your company. And then it enables the organization to create and deliver messages, personalized messages in many channels, in all the channels, in order to give the customer what they like. Tell the customer that we understand what you want, this is what you want, this is what you need, and it's like coherent messaging. There's a lot of like things, like principles. This is kind of why we're slicing the DXP a bit. But basically it's defined as a platform of integrated set of technologies. You have the content management system, you might have e-commerce, you have marketing tools, search, analytics, and whatnot. These should be built in a lean and agile way, integrated with lightweight integration component. This is just one view from this book, 2019 book by these two guys. And it should provide this holistic view of all the customer activities, so it should understand what the customer is doing, what they want to do, and scalable, deployable into cloud, and also be able to remove the silos within your company so that the marketing, sales, and the services, all of those people would have the same picture of the customer. Everyone would have all the information, and so on. The core components and capabilities. The core components are content management, because you're generating content. And this personalization, which is because you understand the customer, you need to personalize, you want to personalize messaging. And then there's presentation, which is the when you deliver the content to the user in or the consumer using multiple channels. These are basically a pizza list of features that Gartner thinks that the DXP should have. It's not all the items are important to all the organization. We need to remember that Gartner is comparing existing products. If you would be building this for yourself, you probably would pick the most important ones for you. If you don't want to integrate artificial intelligence yet, you can just save it for later day and so on. But you need to keep in mind what's the core idea of the whole system. So I've always used a bicycle as an example. I have a really crappy bicycle. It's like 15 years. You know, it's actually really good. It's just old and about to break. But anyways, it still goes. It still runs. So from time to time, I am kind of being unfaithful to my bicycle, my current bicycle, and I start thinking that maybe I should get a new one. So I go to these websites like checking for. I want to stick with the same brand, I think, because the old one has been pretty good. And so on, but I always go to those websites that decide that, okay, technology has gone a bit forward. These are really nice, but I don't want to spend the money. But I still keep dreaming of it. Of course, the shopkeeper notices that I'm doing this. I mean, they have their digital setup together. So whenever I go there, they're like they start like understanding more and more that I'm after bicycles, even though it's a sports goods store. They don't start advertising me with some hockey sticks or whatnot. They start recommending me just go straight to the bicycles because this is what you're interested about. At some point, now that they know that this anonymous guy from Finland is approaching their store. And looking for bicycles, they maybe start asking, like, maybe you should sign up for a newsletter if you're interested in bicycling, because you can do just like we have a really cool newsletter and so on. So I start like giving them my information. Maybe I started the journey on my mobile phone, then I switched to laptop, and now they're asking my and now when they ask me for the email address for the newsletter, I just sign up. And they start putting all the puzzle pieces together in their backend system, saying that, okay, now we understand more and more about this. Maybe even they have an AI in the mix so that they know that maybe this guy is always surfing for the bicycles at the end of the month when the Finnish salary day is coming. Maybe it's because he's poor. He doesn't have the money for the bicycle. I don't know, and so on. Well, someday my bike will break up. I decided, okay, I need to fix it. I won't be able to buy the new bicycle yet. So I go to the brick and mortar store. They also serve bicycles. I go there. The guy greets me. I tell that my bicycle is broke. It needs to be fixed. He asked me for information. And when I give my email address or phone number, they can connect the dots again. And the guy sees that, okay, this guy has been looking for new bicycles. So he might be just actually wanting to buy one, he just doesn't know it. So it says to me that while you wait for your bicycle to get fixed, maybe you go to check out our last year's models. They are in huge sale at the moment. They're practically the same as this year's, but it's just like with different colors. So if you want to go there and just give it a go and check them out, I can just give you a huge discount and give you some money for your own bicycle as well, and so on. So this is how all the channels merge together. That the guy in the brick and mortar store has the same information than the e-commerce people or the ones at the support store. So you just gathered all information, and the all messaging that you get is actually relevant to you. He doesn't say to me, like when I drop the bicycle off for maintenance, he doesn't say to me that it just go and check out some kids swimming wear. I mean, no, he just knows that I'm interested in bicycles. He knows that I might be ready to get the new one and so on. And this is exactly how you benefit from these things. The approach in these DXP systems, the traditional has been like building a monolithic application. It means this all-in-one solution. You start like with one piece of software, and then you start adding features and so on and so on and so on. So you have the single application that has the content management, the search, analytics, and personalization engines and whatnot. The problem is that the technology is going forward really quickly nowadays. This is really slow to develop. If you want to add if you have a monolithic piece of software, it means that when you add new features, there's a high risk that you will break something, or then there's like a lot of stakeholders that are afraid to push out a new feature, and you need to sync everything and so on. It's really slow to react with the market changes. The analysts consider this to be a really old and outdated way of going forward with this. So this is why we have, this is again Gartner's definitions, but there are so few of them available, so we're just sticking with what Gartner has to say. So basically we have the composable DXP. It means that you have different services. This could be somewhere like around microservices or even like larger pieces of software, but the thing is that there's like a multiple pieces of software that are integrated together, and they take care of a certain part of the DXP system. This is the modern way of creating DXP systems, and we're actually in luck because this is quite easy in quotation marks, obviously, but this is like easier way to put together a DXP system compared to building single monolithic application. This is really easy to react into changes. If you have a customer who already has a content management system, you can say that, okay, yeah, that's cool. We'll just integrate it to this like whole DXP thing, and you can keep whatever you have. Or if they have an ERP system or a CRM system, you just integrate everything together, make it a flexible system, and then they'll just you just put this together by integration. So the parts, there's a Finnish quotation there. Then it's a säästing, meaning that I made it myself and I saved a lot of money. It's a bit ironic in that sense that you are probably not going to save a lot of money, but at least you're getting what you paid for. So if you would build this from scratch, this is a reference architecture. This is all the parts, bells and whistles that the DXP system should have, according to again this book. Luckily, we're not building things from scratch. We can use existing systems. So this is a lot more approachable. So if you put together a DXP system, yeah, actually, in my opinion, you need to have a content management system. You need to have some kind of marketing automation. Which one would we recommend here at Mautic? I don't know. And then a CDP system. Customer data platform provides the information about the customer. It gathers. Sven had a really good presentation yesterday about CDP systems. I recommend if you didn't watch it, just go and check it. I'll wait. Just pause this. But it actually collects information from about the customer from multiple channels, and then you have using this information, you can start delivering personalized messaging using your marketing automation and content management system. Then we have some optional parts like digital asset management. It's an image bank essentially. If you have a lot of channels, so you might want to use all the same resources, pictures, videos, and whatnot. Then we have the standard stuff like analytics and search. And then in the backend, you might have CRM, ERPs, whatever. The customer data platform, again, if you didn't watch Sven's presentation, it's basically an application that captures data. It's like analytics, but focused on an individual level. So basically, whenever a user, if you'll be using Mautic, you know how it works. Basically, it's just when someone IP addresses approach you, it comes to your channels, they start collecting information, and the more information they provide them about themselves to you, you start getting a nice picture. With CDP, it's the magic thing is that this can be integrated into so many channels. It has the ability, sometimes at least, to process the data real time and so on. So it's like it's really like powerful application, and it can do the segmentation for you, and you can use these segments in your other channels. So sounds easy enough, but integrating all this together, it's actually probably a pain in the ass, and building a platform. So you can't really, it's not as easy as I make it to look, but there are a lot of solutions that you can use. So it's at least you might be halfway there. If you want to go with a ready-made solution, there are plenty of them available. Unfortunately, the ones that Gartner keeps tracking are really expensive, at least that I know. That's the image they give, like the branding that they give, that we are expensive. And most of the small companies wouldn't be able to afford any of these solutions. On the other hand, there's like a lot of the platforms that Gartner isn't tracking. So there's a lot of like DXP systems available. So if you want to buy a ready-made packet and it fits your way of doing business, these ones might be worth checking out. But I assume that you are working for healthcare industry, a municipality, a city, government, and you can't use any ready-made solutions. So in that case, you can actually build it yourself from open source solutions. Like I said, we need a content management system. We need a marketing automation. We need the CDP and some other plugs. If you're building this to yourself, you need to take into the law of the instrument into account, meaning that you can't, if you're using like PHP-based systems like Drupal, WordPress, Mautic, whatever, you can't necessarily have all of these solutions in your favorite language. I would rather suggest that you go for the best available solutions and then acquire the knowledge as you go. So don't just limit yourself into a single platform, single language. Be open. So regarding content management system, my recommendation would be like to check out Drupal. It's good in structured content. It's built similarly using similar technologies than Mautic, like PHP Symfony framework. I mean, it's pretty technically pretty like even like related in that sense. It has a huge community, bright future. It has like 7,500 individual contributions. There's a lot of active installations. There's a lot of plugins available that you can utilize to build this personalization and integrations. So on. So I mean, yeah, it's a good choice, and it's enterprise ready, so it can give you like you can trust it. It provides these few DXP responsibilities that are required. This is the like responsibilities that it covers: content management, presentation. It can do multi-experience support, and then it's fully headless. If for any reason you don't want to go with Drupal, you can check out WordPress, Joomla, or even Liferay. Then we have marketing automation. For obvious reasons, yeah, Mautic is a like really good one in this stack. It's again fits the PHP and Symfony paradigm. It has growing members. These numbers might be a bit old because it's growing so quickly. And so on. So this is like a perfect companion for your DXP. If you're using Drupal, you have Mautic there, and you cover even more responsibilities like personalization. You can do that in Mautic. You can do the customer journey mapping, the customer data management, and then the orchestration, which essentially means delivering the right content at the right time using all the right channels. If for some reason you would want to check out some alternatives, there's an OpenEMM. I haven't looked into that too deeply, but it seems to be the only other decent marketing automation solution available. So if you suddenly become allergic to PHP, that's a Java-based solution, if I remember correctly. Regarding the customer data platform, this is a tough cookie. I mean, we have the Apache Unomi. It doesn't have that big of a community, but it's an open source CDP built with Java. It's an Apache project, has some years behind it already, and it's a CDP that's really focused on like this customer consent management. This is really CDP friendly. It doesn't have, it's fully headless, which is a positive way of saying that it doesn't have any UI. But there's a nice REST API that you can use to communicate with it. You would need to build the front end yourself unless there's something available and so on. But it does like it collects and stores the user data. You can do the segmentation with it. You can do the personalization with it. And then the most important thing is that it can be used to manage the consent. So it keeps track of when the user gave your company the permission to collect their data, and it keeps track of when it expires. If you want to check out some other solutions, there's Open Snowcat, which is the open source fork of the Snowplow. I'm not sure about any of these applications. I mean, it's like they do collect customer data, and Open Snowcat and Jitsu are open source. Tracardi, which is it was mentioned yesterday in Sven's presentation, it's not open source to be exact. It's MIT licensed, but there's a common clause which effectively makes it not open source. But Open Snowcat and Jitsu are both valid open source solutions. They are not necessarily doing the whole CDP thing, so you might need to add stuff. But check the Unami out if you're looking for an open source CDP that has like a nice. It has been. This has already been used in DXP systems, so I mean that's kind of safe bet to check out. Then we have the analytics. It's not really critical part of the whole thing, but if your customer if they're not happy with Google Analytics, you might want to check out Matomo. That's one additional application that you can integrate into your CDP stack. It's open source, and it does the analytics. So if you want to analyze your user base en masse, then you can do this using Matomo and keep it like really GDPR compliant. It's really popular. Again, apparently a PHP and Symfony framework. So everything. So I can see the hammer and the nail thingy forming here. I wish we would have a PHP-based CDP so that we wouldn't need to stray away from our precious PHP-based stacks. Anyways, so now it's time for the conclusions and the Q&A, for which we have about 5 minutes. So I'll just sum up this really quickly. So, I mean, these are new things, essentially. CDPs haven't been around. I mean, technically they have probably been around for quite some time, but companies haven't been adopting these things in like a lot. The DXP is rather new as well. I mean, it has been around. The concept of personalization has been around some time, but they're not really widespread already. So far, I think that they have been used mostly by larger corporations, but because we are going to be a lot more competition in the digital realm in the future, these are going to be more relevant for even smaller companies. I think that, in my opinion, these should be used a lot more, for example, like for public sector, cities and municipalities. I mean, you're a certain type of citizen and you go to your city's website or your government website, they have all the information. Why wouldn't they personalize your experience for you instead of forcing you to go over tens and tens of pages of needless information to find what you actually want to have, which might be like something like a parking permit and so on. If they know that you have children, why wouldn't they just give you these are the services that we have for people with children and so on, instead of just like making you go all the hoops and loops to get the information you want. So we should have more of this, and the way of having more of this is to start checking out how open source can benefit you in building these kind of solutions. So I hope that I made a positive impression. I hope that you got some new ideas and so on from this. And if you have questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Miko, for a really cool, amazing presentation. I really love that. I, had always a couple of questions, and then I realized that you're answering them in the next slide. So it was really put together perfectly. There is a question from the audience. Lola Slade, one moment. I will put it on the stage here. Mautic also for segmentation. Can you give us an example when to use something like Unomi for instead of this as Mautic, for instead of as well as Mautic? So when would you use Unomi instead of Mautic? In what case?
Well, I think that you can get really far with just like Mautic and content management system. But if you start having a lot of channels that provide a lot of information, you start to integrate offline channels to it, like physical stores and so on. So there might be, or you need to have a real-time processing of this information that Mautic doesn't provide. When you start having when the systems get bigger and bigger, you get to have more concurrent users coming in. So I think that from the technical point, Mautic is doing a really good job with this web and email channels and so on. But when you start adding offline channels and so on, the amount of channels grows. There might be these CDPs are made to address this issue. And a second thing is that if you're running things on, I love PHP. That's the only language I ever worked with professionally. But the thing is, it's not the most efficient language for real-time processing. So if you have hundreds of concurrent users doing plenty of actions and you want to track them all the time, maybe you wouldn't just build that with PHP. Maybe you would look into some other technology, and this is where the CDPs might come in handy. But for what I want to emphasize that for small and medium enterprises and for anyone who wants to start going to this DXP journey, I would definitely recommend them starting from a content management system and Mautic, and then see if they have the capacity and they can reap the benefits from that technology before making it more complicated. That's the magic of this composed architecture, that you can start adding stuff to the file.
Is Unomi, can Unomi be used, for example, together with customer service? So the data collected by Unomi, can you access it in chat applications or I don't know, chatbot or similar systems to give a customized experience during customer service?
I don't see why not. It has a bunch of REST APIs, so you can query the information from it. And then you just need to put it in a format that you can provide, for example, as an input to an AI, and then start using it. It's made for that, so I don't see any. I don't have any practical examples. I don't know Unomi that well, but I know that this is what you would use it for.
Okay, I have another question here for Guzman Belon. How does the analytics? Google Analytics or Matomo integrate in the DXP? Are they not redundant? So do you need analytics actually, or the DXP will contain all the information what you need anyway? This is my understanding of the question.
Hey, Guzman. Nice. So I think that you're looking at different things from there. Because in the CDP you would be checking the personalization on the individual level. I think that the marketers would be using the traditional analytics to see study the effectiveness of a single page. So for example, what's the effectiveness of your landing page? I think that it's also being used in this kind of stack to check the effectiveness of your online advertising. If you're doing display advertising, I think that you have the traditional analytics tools have better they give you better insight on how these are working. And the CDP is basically just checking out like the perspective is different, I think.
Okay, and there's one more question. How hard is to manage cookie tracking if you're using DXP? So basically the question is how hard is to ask for permission if you're using a DXP. All the information you have to disclose when you process the data, in the DXP, that's mandatory when you ask for permission. So is this something like another art, basically?
No, this is actually like, again, this is a bit theoretical answer, but again, in my opinion, this makes everything really simple. Because now if you have different applications asking for different permissions, you have the CRM, you have the analytics, you have this and that, and so on. But you can use the Unomi, since you have essentially all the customer like individual data in a single platform, the CDP. It actually, in my opinion, it actually makes it a lot more simpler because you have the consent that it's tied to certain data records and everything, and since all the data is being stored in this one place, it's really easy to keep track of what the customer gave their permission for. I mean, you can keep track of individual permissions like this customer gave us their permission to store this data for 3 months and this data for 2 months and so on. It can Unomi can do this on a really granular level. So it might even, like, depending on your current setup, I think that it might make things even easier.
Okay, thank you. Looking at the chat, there was one more question here, which I'm going to post in the chat. I don't know if we can do this now. If I manage to copy this out, so put it on the stage. And this is a question from Camilo. It would be great if you could please illustrate an example of these tools working together. This is something you would have to prepare for, I guess.
Oh, the ones that I assume that this refers to Drupal, Mautic, and
yes.
Based on the presentations I've seen from Dropsolid in the past DrupalCons, their DXP solutions, which everyone just says that you need to check that out if you want to have a ready-made solution, but they actually utilize many of these applications. Like, they're a good Drupal company that does a lot of contribution for Drupal and nowadays also Unomi, and we know that they are for Mautic, and then they have mentioned in their presentation that they are also using Unomi. So actually, that's one really good practical example of using these together. And then if you go to the Unomi site, the main contributor is also, I don't remember its name, but the head honcho of Unomi projects, I think they also have a DXP type of system that doesn't utilize these solutions in practice, but in a way that I think that they are doing something like similar. So those are the best practical examples. In theory, if you want to, instead of just doing this, you would integrate Unomi into everything, where you would integrate Mautic into as well, and you would just gather all the data in the Unomi and do the segmentation there, and then you would share the segments with Mautic, where you would be able, and also from Drupal, so you would use some personalization module in Drupal. So instead of doing the segmentation in Mautic, you would do it in Unomi, and you would utilize these segments in Drupal, for example, to hide or show some content using a personalization module, or in Mautic to for example, send email campaign or some information and so on. So it in theory at least it wouldn't be more complicated than that. The one benefit I kind of didn't mention, if you're using a CDP, is also that you can, in the future, you can develop your own, but in the future, I think there will be ready-made solutions for utilizing AI for example, digging information in real time from the CDP data, meaning that it can recognize behavioral patterns and then do the segmentation automatically based on these patterns. So that's something that when we go ahead 1 year, 2 year, I think that might be like I think that you already have this in commercial solutions, but you might have it also in the open source solutions as well in the future. Unami used to have this AI feature. Like there's a nice video available, but unfortunately the AI project was discontinued, but the video still exists if you want to like see how it looks like when someone's doing that.
Thank you so much. Great. Well, we don't have any more questions. In case you are rewatching this, you're watching the reply, you can also post questions under the video, so you might get answers for that as well. You can also reach out to Mikko by using this QR code here. And I also invite you to check out the next session, which is the Mautic update with Drew Cheesley, and there will be a lot of cool news and a lot of announcements actually, which we've been waiting for. So I hope to see you there. Now we're gonna have a short 8-minute coffee break, and then I invite you back to the Mauticon. Mikko, thanks again once more. It was an amazing presentation.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Good luck. Bye.
Bye-bye.